is an Icom PCR 1000. Now it's a receiver, a wideband receiver, and it's a computer controlled receiver. It's not an SDR. Think of it as a receiver with no buttons and no display, and your computer, your PC, is going to supply that facility. So you're going to control it from the computer, but all of the receive circuitry is built into this unit. So we'll have a look at it first before we hook it up in the shack. There's not a lot to see. This won't take very long. You can see on the front panel, such as it is, we've just got a power on off button. And actually, when you power that on, there's a little LED in the button. On the top of the receiver here, there's a small speaker, because the audio also comes out of this box, doesn't come out of your computer. Okay, so it's a receiver in the true sense of the word, just hasn't got any external display or controls. Nothing on the side panels, of course. I'll turn it around so we can see the rear. Now we've got a BNC for connecting the antenna. A BNC really, I think, because this is a wideband receiver, it covers from about 100 kilohertz, certainly from long wave, let's say 150 kilohertz up to 1300 megahertz. So, it's quite a wide coverage. We've got a BNC, we've got a ground leg there, a ground screw. DC in, so we need an adapter to feed, I think it takes 12 volts in here. We've got a 3.5 millimeter external speaker jack. We've got a serial port, an RS232C, to connect to the computer. So this obviously dates the unit. So if you're going to use this on a modern machine, you're going to need a serial to USB adapter. And we've got a 3.5 mil jack here with a packet output. Now this was for decoding packet radio, 9600 board. I don't know whether we could repurpose this socket for anything, whether we could do data decode from it. I'll have to check that. That's possible. I'm not sure. As I say, it's a wideband receiver, so we'll be able to cover as well as the long wave, medium wave and short wave bands. We'll be able to cover up to 1300 megs, so that would encompass the 2 and 70 centimeter amateur radio bands, for example, and also airband. It's a multi-mode receiver, so it's capable of demodulating single sideband, CW, AM, narrowband FM and wideband FM, because it obviously covers the FM broadcast band as well. So there it is. That's the Icom PCR 1000. It dates from 1997, so it's 28-year-old technology as I film this in 2025. There is still the factory software available for this radio on the Icom website, believe it or not. And although in 1997, I guess most people would have been either running Windows 95, well, they would have been running Windows 95, wouldn't they? 98 wouldn't have been out at that point. Believe it or not, the Icom software still runs on my Windows 10 machine. It may run on Windows 11, I haven't tried it yet, but it certainly runs on Windows 10. So let's take this radio into the shack. Let's hook up an antenna and I'll show you how it looks and how it performs on the PC. I'm going to open up the Icom software. There it is, Icom PCR 1000. And there it is open. Now the physical on button on the radio is turned on, so we just have to hit the power button here on the software. Hopefully you can hear the radio. Okay, so that's coming from the radio speaker. Just turn the sound down a moment, because I want to show you the various displays and the options that we have here. You see we've got our tuning panel here with the frequency. We've got a tuning knob. We can step up and down in frequency using this. We can set the tuning step here. That's the TS box. And we can increase or decrease those tuning steps. Increase it to 10 kilohertz, for example, and then we can step up and down like that. If you look at the next component underneath that says meter scan, we've got our signal meter. We've got some scan controls, Remember, this is a wideband receiver. We could have a bunch of UHF, VHF frequencies in here and want to scan through them. So we've got the scanning facilities there. The next component, we've got our modes and our filtering. We can vary the bandwidth. We can go from 6 kcs up to 15 to 50. Still in AM mode. And then narrow to 15 to 6 to 3. So we've got those filters. I'll leave it on 6. We've got an IF shift control. We can turn on and off there. And we can, if we knock that on, we can move the IF shift. I think that only works in single sideband mode in actual fact. Okay, and then we've got 4 buttons here. Automatic frequency control, that's going to be for FM, for broadcast FM listening in the main. We've got a noise blanker. We've got an attenuator and an automatic gain. So I'm guessing that switches between slow and fast, the AGC control. So I'll just knock those back off. As I say, we've got the wide narrow. We've got our modes there. SSB, CW, AM, wide FM and narrow FM. AF gain control there. Turn our volume up and down. And of course the squelch control. We've got a mute button there. So that will quick mute the receiver, whatever stage the volume's at. Mute it like that. And, you know, pretty impressive considering the age of this device, which is, 28 years old. We've got a band scope and we've got a 400 kc coverage here of the band scope, minus 200, plus 200. The frequency we're tuned to is highlighted there. You can see in, I guess it's yellow. Forgive me because I am colorblind. But we can click on another signal. There's one almost at the end of the plus 200k there. If we click on that block, it takes us to the frequency in question, 6090, and now that is our highlighted, that's our center frequency. Similarly, we can click down the other end there, 5910, okay, and it takes us to the frequency. So it's like the kind of spectrum display that you see with your SDRs. Unlike an SDR, these are the only modes this receiver has. You can't add any. None are going to be added with software updates or anything like that. The filters are the filters. We can't modify them in any way. So we can have a narrow AM filter of 3K, a wide of 6, 15 or 50. Why 50? I don't know. Similarly, if we go to SSB mode, we're on 3 kilohertz there. And we can actually put a 6 kilohertz bandwidth in. You can see the IF shift is now illuminated as well when we're in sideband mode, and we can move that IF frequency by manipulating the slider. FM mode or narrowband FM. If we click on that, we've got a 15k filter. Or we can take it down to 6, which is very narrow for FM, okay, and then wide FM, we've got a 230k or a 50k switchable, okay, on wide FM. I'm on the, what antenna am I on? I'm on the Bonito Bonnie Whip, so we might get some of the stronger broadcast FM signals here. I'll just try, let's see. So we'll put in 99.5, which would be BBC Radio 1. I'll enter that. I'll hit wide. We're already in wide FM. That's okay. We've got a signal there. Let's unmute it.
Michael PB and Alexa Sunshine Rose.
So that's okay on wideband FM. No RDS or anything like that. We can switch in I'll switch in that narrow 50k. We'll see what that sounds like. Not very good, probably.
He's recovered from a brain tumour. So happy to have me.
But it is there, so it does work. So we've got those 2 filters. And as I said, you've got from long wave up to 1300 megahertz here. We'll have a quick look at long wave. I'll just switch the radio into AM mode, and we'll see if we can get Algeria on long wave. So 252 kilohertz. We'll just get that in there and enter that. We've got a signal. Let's... Okay, so that's coming through all right. We'll... I'll just put that on... let's go back to 10. So we can drop the increments down. And I'll put that now up to 9 kilohertz. And we'll go down to BBC Radio 4.
Young men who seem to be coming back to church and to Christian organisations.
Just mute that for a moment. We'll see if we can go up to Radio Caroline on 648 medium wave. So we'll go 648. And I'll enter that. Looks like we've got a signal there. Okay, so that's all working. As you can see on medium wave, you know, we've still got the span there, and we can there's a stronger signal there. If we look at the band scope, let's click on that. That takes us to 693.
Leicester, well, they won the league. No, I know they did, and I'm not knocking them. It's still the best player they've had. So you've still got to give aspiring.
So that band scope works quite well. No problem with that. I'll just go quickly up to the top end of medium wave, just see if there's any pirates around here. It's a little bit early. It's not quite dark here. In the UK, it's, what is the time? So it's 1943 UTC. So it'll be dark in about 15-20 minutes. But I'll go right to the top end of the medium wave band. Let's enter that. We're on 9 kc steps. I'll unmute that. Nothing there really at the moment. We'll just have a quick look at 49 meters just to see if there's any pirate activity around that we can pick up quickly. I'll put that on 5 kilohertz steps, you'll see there. And we'll turn the AF gain up a bit. Doesn't seem to be anything around at the moment. It's a Friday evening. Sometimes there's some activities, a little bit early maybe yet. There's something there. Okay, so we're getting something. This radio is quite prone to overloading on shortwave. But you have got the attenuator control, of course, that can be used. Probably a better more as a scanner, and I'll demonstrate that in another video. We'll hook it up to a VHF, UHF antenna and see what we can receive. I'll just show you the other displays that you can bring up if you don't want this kind of stock hi-fi component style. We have got alternatives. We can click on this one. That's very much like a scanner, isn't it? It represents a kind of scanner. Not such a clear display. And we've got one that emulates a communications receiver or a ham transceiver. It's reminiscent of something like an Icom 706, isn't it? And we can, again, we've got the tuning knob, so we can tune up and down. We've got the band scope, although much smaller in this display. We've got all of the controls that we had, just a different layout. I prefer, if I'm using the radio on the PC, to have that, and the band scope's nice and large. Anyway, there it is. That's a quick look at the Icom PCR 1000. We'll look in future at the VHF, UHF capabilities and see what we can pick up there with it, and see if I can't get some memories entered into it and scanning. There is a way of bringing up the memory list. There it is. Hopefully you can see that. And we can program. We've got a number of banks that we can use. How many banks? Well, quite a few anyway. 20, I think. 20 banks. We can give each bank a name. I've got one frequency in there, look, Radio Europe. Let's see if it... is it active? A bit noisy, but it is there. If I put the attenuator in. Some rather strange music playing there, but yeah, that works. So we can program up these memory banks and maybe do a bit of scanning with it. Okay, hope you enjoyed that quick look at the radio, and thanks for watching.